Power struggle gradually takes over more and more of the relationship, we begin to wrestle for control. We may try any of a number of old or new tactics to try to coerce, cajole, reason, manipulate, blackmail, convince, bribe, punish, or flatter our partner in the relationship into changing to give us what we want. Whether what we want is a spouse who does the laundry or a God who explains himself to us to our satisfaction. While some of these tactics may work with spouses or children or parents, at least for a while, they do not work with God. Trust me on this, I've tried. He invites us to change instead, and this is often very painful. We want the world back the way it was when we were innocent and full of hope, and before we had discovered the snakes in the grass. But he evicts us from the garden and tells us to get walking. Much of our behavior is about trying to get safe, and much of his is about trying to help us see that our safety lies in our submission and trust in him, despite pain and struggle, not in our freedom from physical or emotional or intellectual discomfort. We keep thinking that there are answers and solutions to all difficulties if we can just get someone else to see our point of view and give us what we know we need. And that someone else keeps holding out on us, keeping us guessing as to what to try next. We are sure that if we could just change them, we could get things back to the honeymoon, not realizing that this is not only impossible, but not helpful. The third stage of committed relationships, which usually comes after years of vacillating between lingering idealism and the increasing futility of the power struggle, is withdrawal. This is, again, all committed relationships. At this stage, we essentially give up. When I teach these principles to young idealistic students at BYU, they run home and ask their parents, "Can this be true?" And their parents nod their heads and say, "Well, yes, honey, but it's not as bad as it sounds." At this stage, we give up, but we may not leave. We may resign ourselves to not really getting what we want, to not really changing the other partner, to not really being ever happy. We are tired of fighting, but we can't recoup our lost idealism. We go through the motions of relationship, but we are frustrated and we feel more or less betrayed and misunderstood. This period of withdrawal allows us to regain some independence. It allows us to pursue other sources of satisfaction and develop talents and interests. And if we are lucky, we begin to work on ourselves, whom we can change, instead of working on our partner, whom we cannot change. With the church or with God, this means we begin to face that there are some questions we will not get answered, some differences that will not be worked out, some losses that will not be prevented. This is a risky stage, a stage when some people decide there is nothing to hold on to because they are no longer in love and no longer have hope for change. But as we continue to work on ourselves, we see reality more clearly. We resolve some of our issues, and we have a chance of moving toward stage 4. The fourth and final stage of committed relationships, not achieved by everyone, is about renewal. Not exactly a renewal of the honeymoon, but a more mature, realistic, and truly loving renewal. We come to expect our spouse or our parents or the church. We come to accept our spouse, our parents, or the church, and we come to accept ourselves. We allow God to run the universe. And we become more content to let go of things we cannot change. A deeper, more mature love begins to emerge in marriages with fewer power struggles and less disengagement. We do not need to see all the answers, and we do not need perfection by our standards in order to not be embarrassed or ashamed of our church, our partner, or our God. We reinvest in the relationship not because we have decided to risk yet one more time that we will not get hurt, only to have the rug pulled out yet one more time from underneath us, but because we have learned that hurt can be survived and that this is a risk worth taking. That it does not mean we cannot be happy or that we are irrational suckers or that we are doomed to failure because we take another chance on trust or because we fail or because we are failed again. We see ourselves and our partner in the relationship more realistically, and we do not run from either vision. We recognize that we can be hurt by being betrayed, or we can be hurt by not trusting to begin with. But we don't get the no-hurt choice, because there isn't one. At least not until we simply choose not to read betrayal into every ecclesiastical failure or abandonment into every unanswered prayer. I have been through these stages on many issues, and to different degrees I still slip into illusionary fantasies, angry power struggles, and despairing withdrawal. But I am learning that with time and honesty, I can get to a better place than any of these. My growth is facilitated by asking myself questions like, what does it mean to me, about God, that such and such is the case? When have I faced this particular kind of betrayal before? And am I bringing some of that history to this new situation, overreading it in the process? What illusions might God be inviting me to let die so that something new can be born? In this vein, I appreciate the following from C.S. Lewis in The Weight of Glory. Quote, "If our religion is something objective," and I take that to mean something concrete outside of my own subjective experience, if our religion is something objective, then we must never avert our eyes from those elements in it which seem puzzling or repellent. For it will be precisely the puzzling or the repellent which conceals what we do not yet know and need to know. The truth we need most is hidden precisely in the doctrines you least like and least understand. Scientists make progress because scientists, instead of running away from such troubled phenomena or hushing them up, are constantly seeking them out. In the same way, there will be progress in Christian knowledge only as long as we accept the challenge of the difficult or repellent doctrines. A liberal Christianity which considers itself free to alter the faith whenever the faith looks perplexing or repellent must be completely stagnant. Progress is made only into a resisting material." End of quote. I believe that progress is made not only in Christian knowledge, but in personal healing and growth, as we seek out the puzzling and repellent doctrines that we do not yet know and need to know, the truths that will set us free from our illusions, betrayals, and losses. So we deal with doubt, disillusionment, and betrayal by recognizing that they are inevitable, seeing the predictable cycles of committed relationships so that we do not overreact to the belief challenges of committed relationship, and leaning into the puzzling and repellent doctrines at our growing edge rather than shrinking from their demands. While cognitive dissonance theory says we behave primarily to justify our beliefs, faith teaches us that both commitment and uncertainty are valuable tools that can be used to clarify belief and increase our trust in God. So, to my final question, how do we free ourselves once and for all of self-doubt, doubt about the church, or doubt about the existence, nature, or trustworthiness of God? I hope it is obvious by this point that my answer is we don't. Faith is imperfect knowledge, and as such, it is always a choice among options. If God can ask the brother of Jared, who has heard his voice and seen his hand, "Believest thou the words which I will speak?" then certainly we also have a choice to believe or not, regardless of our previous spiritual experience or our intellectual skill. We believe because we are trying to learn object constancy with God, to trust that He is still there even when we cannot feel Him, and that He will tell us the truth even when it seems improbable.